If you ever wonder what would happen if you combine the gameplay of Doom and the aesthetics of Ghost Runner, Metal Eden isn't what you would get.
Hyper unit is mission go. Give him hell, Hyper.
Developed by Rycon Games, it made a name for itself in 2017 with the release of Ruiner. The stylish and hyper-violent isometric shooter carved out a distinct space in the cyberpunk genre due to its stylized art style with nods to Akira. While both games explore dystopian futures and blend adrenaline-fueled combat with philosophical undertones, Metal Eden represents both an evolution and a departure from the tightly focused experience of Ruiner. If you guys missed the tight and fast-paced gameplay of Doom 2016 and were disappointed by Doom The Dark Ages this year, Metal Eden might fill that void on a smaller scale. In fact, the game was initially scheduled for release on May 6, 2025 before Doom The Dark Ages, but it was later delayed to September 2nd, 2025. The delay was to address player feedback received from the game's demo, allowing the devs more time to refine the experience and fix some issues with the base game. Additionally, according to sources like Kotaku, approximately 60 to 70 people, or around 80% of the total company, were laid off in January of 2024. This may or may not have affected the scope of the game, and when I delve further into the review, you may gain a clear understanding of why that is. Let's start with the story. Let's just say it is an interesting premise, but is one of the weakest elements of the game due to the lack of interactions with other characters, as you only have major exposition dumps from two characters constantly talking in your ear, where nothing goes beyond that, or makes an effort to keep the player engaged during high-speed combat. You play as Asuka, a regenerative android rescuing human cores from the city of Mobius, an AI-run arcology that now imprisons human consciousness. A good comparison of the cores would be to the stacks from the series Altered Carbon, the consciousness of humans stored digitally, so that it can be used to transfer over infinitely to new bodies without the fear of death and virtually be immortal forever. But unlike Altered Carbon, downloading data into different sleeves, in Metal Eden, once you die, your body is printed over and over again for you to complete your mission, akin to a roguelike, but this has no impact on gameplay, and this is strictly only used as a story plot and never translated well. Modern devs often like to reference other forms of literature and media, but rarely fully commit or attempt to improve upon the thematic elements themselves. A perfect example is a side-by-side comparison of the sequence when your body is built from scratch, just like in Ghost in the Shell. It doesn't go beyond that. And for the overall story, as I stated, there is an overt extremism in which the human being is reduced to code and stored in the cores, allowing them to travel the stars in search of a better future. Still, we never see the impact this has on other people. As I stated before, our character Asuka only ever interacts with two other characters, one of whom is Nexus, who acts as a resident expedition dump with an ominous tone.
Got to reach the mainframe and find that old geezer. He used to be called the Operator. Engineers are out there looking for us. They know we opened the surface elevator, and they know you're coming. Now move fast. Break stuff. What we're doing is bigger than you and I, Asuka. The road we walk is paved by those who shared this dream before me. And even more, by those who wanted to oppose it.
For people who played Ruiner, you might guess what direction the story is headed towards in its grand conclusion, so to speak. The overall objective of the story is to collect 4 central Apex cores so that we can combine them to release humanity from the constraints of the core, so that they can finally achieve what they set out to do. But the game ends on a sequel-bait cliffhanger without a satisfying conclusion. This is why I believe the game was rushed in production and the team is hoping to continue the story with a follow-up rather than just complete it. That's all I have to say with regards to story and characters, so you guys will decide for yourselves if the gameplay is worth enough to overlook the shortcomings of the story itself. Speaking of gameplay, the core loop, pun intended, it's a mix of Doom, Ghost Runner, and Titanfall. It takes all the strengths of these games and cuts the bloat out of some outdated design choices of FPS games, but stumbles in execution due to its short runtime. Adding to this visceral core ripping mechanic, it's exactly as it sounds. You can rip the core basically, which is meant to be like the heart of the NPC, straight off their bodies to consume them so that you can empower your melee attacks to stun enemies or throw it at enemies like a grenade for massive damage. That's the unique gimmick of Metal Eden, and it has an upgrade tree that allows you to build your own unique playstyle style. Still, you cannot upgrade everything in one go. Upgrades are not persistent through level select and do not give you a reset so that you can try putting different skills in one run. And let's move on to the best part, weapons. You get the usual selection of weapons: rifles, pistols, shotguns, grenade launchers, and energy weapons. Each of them come with their own alt fire when different mods are attached, which is a balance between more damage or unique mechanics for more ammo usage, like turning your SMG into a sniper rifle or choosing a grenade launcher. But since you have the core grenade ability and also on top of that get ice grenades after a first epic score, it's best to try different mod variety with regards to your weapon setup, as you can only change the mods at specific checkpoints within the weapon shop called the Pig. Using in-game currency called Dust, you can also upgrade your weapons or buy new weapon mods. This is the outdated design, as it's not like you get different ammo pools for each category, but it could be addressed in a future patch given the situation. Speaking of ammo, you don't have individual ammo pickups for each type. Instead, you get a unified ammo pickup in the arenas, which fills a set of ammo for every weapon rather than maxing out every kind of ammo. This has been a direct change from the demo to streamline ammo pickups. As I recall, I had to pick up individual ammo for each weapon type. Moving on to enemies. They are serviceable in regards to gameplay, but don't offer that much in the way of a challenge on normal, and I suggest you guys start on a higher difficulty for a more challenging experience. And also, there are only 3 total boss fights in the game, and one of them is reused as a mini boss spawn in subsequent encounters. But the remaining 2 at least take advantage of all the gameplay has to offer, making the sequence unique. And last but not least, the Ramball sections of the game, which I mentioned are meant to emulate Samus and her ball form given the female main character. However, this gameplay mechanic is also underutilized, and as expected, you can transform at will into your standard form or the ball form in these narrow sections of the level. Nevertheless, there are no set piece moments or challenges while in the ball form. It's not like you have any utility in it. You have your primary fire, which shoots at lightning straight in front of you, and you also have missiles that you can individually lock onto enemies for high damage. All of these are wasted when in comparison taking the sections from Ghost Runner 2 where you're riding the bike, and these levels have their own gameplay mechanics to break up the pacing and make the player feel cool so that they don't feel frustrated for the switch up in level design and mechanics. If these sections don't offer anything more, the pacing of the level starts to get frustrating. You just want this to end so that you can move on. If the devs could implement all of this in a future update with DLC, many of the gameplay complaints would make the game more appealing to purchase at full price. Take this in contrast to Ruiner, though relatively modest in scope, was technically polished. Its fixed perspective allowed for optimized performance even on lower end systems, and it ran smoothly across all platforms. Metal Eden, by contrast, pushes technical boundaries sometimes too far. Despite its visual splendor, the game suffers from inconsistent performance and frame rate drops on PC without DLSS or frame generation enabled, but runs perfectly fine with 60 FPS on console in performance mode. While not game breaking, these issues undermine its polish, especially considering the game's relatively short length. Speaking of length, both games are compact, but Metal Eden feels more abrupt. With only 7 linear levels, the primary campaign wraps up in just under 6 hours. Level design is extremely linear across those 7 levels and doesn't offer any sort of exploration or puzzle to keep the player engaged. You kill some enemies in a corridor to get to the next arena and repeat this until you get to the end of the level. This is a significant misstep as they created this unique world, but due to development issues, the level design is almost non-existent. The lack of side content or additional modes, the game even lacks a New Game Plus for higher difficulties. And as I mentioned before, the upgrades are not persistent and don't carry over in level select. This limits its longevity, especially for a mid-tier price point. Ruiner, while similarly brief, felt more self-contained and satisfying, with its minimalist structure better matched to its runtime. Metal Eden is a good follow-up to Ruiner, a game that successfully carries forward Rykon's signature aesthetic while attempting to expand its gameplay and narrative ambition. Going from making a 2D game to a 3D game is a really challenging endeavor, yet it also suffers from growing pains, uneven performance, and the short campaign that doesn't fully capitalize on its robust mechanics. By contrast, Ruiner remains a tighter, more focused experience. It is smaller in scale, but more coherent in tone, storytelling, and execution. Minimalism feels intentional, whereas Metal Eden occasionally overreaches. Ultimately, both games are worthwhile, but for now, I recommend buying Ruiner since it's only $20 and always goes on sale. However, you should wait until Metal Eden gets a discount. Additionally, the developers have promised to patch and updates addressing some of the issues I raised in the videos, so fingers crossed they can turn things around. Hopefully, you find the video informative and provides enough information to help you make your own decision. That being said, leave a like, dislike, share your comments, spread the video around, and don't forget to subscribe to help the channel out. Talk to you guys next time.